Welcome back to the Ultimate Mixdown. In this video, we're going to talk about the effects that we use in our song, as well as the automation that we're going to use on those effects to bring our tracks to life. This is where we make everything exciting, we bring movement into our tracks, and we keep the listener wanting more. Let's dive right into it. Here's our intro, and what I like to do with a lot of these styles of songs, and you hear it a lot too, we're going to use a low pass filter on an EQ, and we're going to start with the low frequencies only. So it's going to sound a little underwater, a little distant, and then we're going to open up those frequencies as we get a little farther in the progression. That's kind of the introduction to our song. So we start low and quiet, expand everything, and then we hit right into the track. For automation, we're going to click this. And this is track envelopes. And that shows the envelopes for everything. You can automate everything in Reaper. So many things on the track itself, like volume and panning, as well as most of the parameters in the virtual instruments you're using or the effects you're using. So let's click on effects again. Now we have just a piano here, but let's add an EQ. So we can use REAPER or any EQ that you have in any DAW that you're working in. And then let's do low pass. And then let's start this around 200K. 200K. Let's start this at around 200 Hertz. So this is what it sounds like at 200 Hertz, just this track. Okay, we're going to actually bring this EQ on all of these tracks. Okay, this and the chords. So we have the EQ set at where we want it to start, but then we need to use automation to drive it across to where we want to finish. So we'll click this little automation button. It's a lot of stuff here, but just focus. What are we trying to automate? Something on the EQ. So let's go to the EQ. And what is it? The low pass filter. So let's select low pass filter. All right. And then this gives us an automation lane. And this is where we can draw in points. You can see right here, there's a point right here at the beginning. And that's at around 200 Hertz because that's what we had selected in the user interface for that EQ. But then across these 8 bars, we want this to slowly progress. That's the effect we're looking for. Over the course of the 8 bars, we want it to open up gradually. You can hold Option or Alt with the pencil tool to draw in points along the automation lane so you can have more frequencies, less frequencies with this low pass filter. Command or Control on a PC, click and drag will actually draw the points wherever you move your mouse in the automation lane. And that can be kind of fun, actually. The other thing that you can do is hold Shift and click a point anywhere in the automation lane. So let's say after the first 8 bars, I want to add a point here, and it automatically connects the points, brings up the slope, creates the point here, and then the rest of the track has that point to continue from. And if you want to bring it up a little higher or low, you can just click and drag the line and go right to the top. The only thing with this is it's going to open up a little too soon, and I want it to stay kind of low for a little bit. So I'm just going to shift and click down here and have it be a slow opening here, a little faster here. And then when all the other instruments kick in, it's going to be nice, loud, and all the frequencies for that melody. So let's take a listen. That's how quick it is to put in automation if you know what you're looking for. Now I want the same automation on the introduction for these chords too. So let's bring those in. To copy the effects from one track to another, you can Command, click and drag from effects to effects. And we already have the piano, so we can just delete one of the extra pianos. We can also open up the automation lane for the low pass EQ. We can select these points just like you're selecting a MIDI item or an audio item and Command C or Control C. And then you can go down to this automation lane and Command V or Control V and paste it. You can easily copy paste automation just like you can with MIDI files, audio files, and it's a beautiful thing. I kind of want to bring in like an introductory beat that Kind of has a pumping effect, and we'll work on that with a sidechain compressor. So we want basically all of this stuff to be pumping. Like every time the kick hits, there's like a pumping sensation that you would hear in a lot of house songs. I'm going to add a kick down to this audio track. So I'm going to bring up my Media Explorer, just pull a kick in anywhere for where we want that pumping effect to start. So actually, let's get it back here. Zoom in. And you just want to make sure that the kick is to the pattern that you want the pumping to be. So in this case, we want it to be every quarter note. So it looks like it's exactly the length of a quarter note, or I should say a beat within the bar. And if I duplicate 4 of them, they should extend exactly 1 bar. So it's right here at the beginning of the bar, right here at the end. There's no overlap, so that's good. And this is what the kick would sound like just playing the kick. Okay, now the thing with sidechain compression, we're not actually going to hear the kick. So we're going to make sure that we don't listen to the kick coming through the master channel, but we want that kick influence the compressor on our other tracks, so that when the kick hits, these other tracks get ducked down. They get softened or quieted in a way where we do it quickly and it sounds like it's pumping. And to get this pumping effect, we're going to add compressors to our tracks. So I'm going to start with this chord track, go to the effects, double click, search for compressors. I'll just use a REAPER, which is the basic compressor in Reaper, comes with Reaper. The next thing we want to do is click the routing of the kick drum. So right here where it says routing, click and drag it into the compressor. Okay, so now that's the first thing that we need to do where it feeds the kick drum to that compressor. So from channel 1, 2 of the kick drum to channel 3, 4 of the compressor. And we also need to bring the volume up on the routing. So right now it's negative infinity. It's not going to come into our compressor at all. We'll just zero that out. I double clicked it, but you can click the slider and drag it all the way to 0. That's the first thing. The next thing we need to do on the compressor is select auxiliary inputs. So not those main inputs, but the auxiliary ones coming from the kick drum. We have the kick drum track here, and this compressor is on my piano chords. And when I press play, you'll see the kick drum coming in. Okay. So this means that the compressor on the piano chords is receiving the signal of the kick drum. Now the next thing to do is to lower the threshold where it starts compressing every time the kick drum hits, so it'll compress those chords. So let me solo the chords as well. It might be a little difficult to hear because the kick drum's playing, so let's do this right now. Go to the routing of the kick drum, uncheck the master send channels from to. In other words, we're not sending the kick drum to the master channel. We don't want to hear the kick. We just want to hear how it affects the compressor on the piano chords. All right, so let's increase the ratio a little bit. Maybe a 4:1 so that it does some kind of compression. And then a fast attack and a relatively fast release is a pretty good way to get that pumping effect really pumping. Just to recap, we created a track with a kick drum on it. We routed the kick drum to the compressor on the piano chords, and then we deselected the sending to master, so we don't hear the kick drum in the master, so you don't hear the kick drum at all. We adjusted the threshold enough where it would start pumping, increase the ratio so it actually starts compressing, and then shorten the attack and release, really emphasize that pumping effect. It's a lot of stuff, but once you do it 10, 20, a million times, it's going to be second nature to you. And I want the sidechain compression to be on other instruments as well as we continue through the song. So for example, the bass. So let's do it on the bass as well. So we're going to repeat basically what we just did. So let's open up the bass here. And we're going to open up a compressor on the bass. A REAPER. Drag the routing from the kick drum to the REAPER compressor. Bring this up to 0, and then we're going to increase the ratio to 4. And this is just a ratio that I found works well in this instance. You might have to adjust. Nice short attack, drop the release down. It's already short, but make it shorter. And then I'm going to take some kick drums and duplicate those right to here where this bass plays, and I'm going to press play and watch how the threshold needs to be adjusted to affect the compressor. Okay. Thanks again for joining the Ultimate Mixdown. I hope you learned a lot about effects, automation, the tools that Reaper has to offer, and in general, how to use those tools to make your EDM tracks sound more exciting and more lively. If you want more videos like this, be sure to subscribe. If this video helped you out, hit the like button, share it with your friends, and as always, I can't wait to see you in the next video.